Thank you and good morning. It's been a pleasure to meet many of you, and I appreciate the invitation to this colloquium series. Today's talk, Adding Sizzle to Faculty Scholarship, combines two of my passions in my professional life, and that's library outreach and scholarly communications. I've been a librarian for 35 years, and 30 of those have been at the University of Richmond, but I've been fortunate in that I've had several different administrative positions. I've been Director of Public Services, Head of Outreach and Instruction Services, Director of Outreach Services, and for the past 4 years, Head of Scholarly Communications and Access Services. So as you heard in the introduction, I have a myriad of duties, and it's just been real exciting to mesh all those together to promote scholarly communication activities on campus. So my remarks today will focus on how we have used the repository as an impetus to promote scholarship on campus and beyond. As I prepared for this talk, I conducted a literature review to see if other libraries were using repository content to stimulate library outreach events and activities. While I found many articles about promoting the repository to faculty, I found very few about using the repository in other ways for programming. But these are just a few, and as you can tell, the top two are actually from the state of Idaho, but at two different institutions, so they must be collaborating in somehow, but they are focusing on receptions or celebrations to honor faculty scholarship on their campus. One important point that I did find while reading some of these articles that stood out for me is that partnerships and building relationships between academic librarians and others on campus are a major goal for creating alliances that assist us in promoting the academic library, recognizing faculty work, and promoting writing and scholarship. Showcasing and promoting faculty scholarship is a critical part of a university's intellectual prestige, and it can also increase the discoverability of an author's work. With my responsibilities in library promotion, I do like to keep up with current library marketing techniques, and in addition to attending conferences and workshops, I've also kept up with the literature. And these are just a couple of books that are on my shelf in my office, Marketing Today's Academic Library and Bite-Sized Marketing for the Overworked Librarian. And these have been of assistance to me as I've identified techniques and methods to assist with promotion in a lot of different arenas, not just faculty publishing. Some of those methods that I keep returning to are the importance of telling a compelling story, always having a purpose and a plan, identifying the right audiences, and trying to engage over the long term. So just a little bit about our repository at Richmond. It's entitled UR Scholarship, and it's been active for a little over 3 years. It's primarily hosting faculty scholarship, but we also have student scholarship that's been approved by faculty. We have art exhibition catalogs. We also include some data sets, and we're trying to grow the collection in that area. And then it also serves as a journal hosting platform. So we host several journals that are related to the University of Richmond. And then just a little background on the environment at Richmond. We are considered a liberal arts undergraduate institution, but we're unique in that we have 5 schools. So it's a little bigger than your typical liberal arts college. We have a School of Arts and Sciences, School of Leadership Studies, School of Business, a law school, and a School of Professional and Continuing Studies for older adults coming back at night. And we collaborate very closely with our law school and law library. You may do the same here at American. And we're sharing the same repository, and that has worked out very well. So we have about 5,000 total students and about 300 undergraduate faculty members. The University of Richmond is modeled and committed to the teacher-scholar model. So quality scholarship is very important to our faculty. Quality teaching is important to them. From our administrators' point of view, they are very interested in high impact scholarship and how that contributes to the reputation of the school. However, at the same time, they also value the intense attention to our students and quality teaching and collaboration with students. So many times our faculty feel very stretched, and it's difficult to find that balance. Some of them have told me, I feel like I'm in an R1 institution for scholarship, but at the same time, I need to be an excellent teacher as well. Another hallmark of the university is an experience in the summer for all of our students, either a summer research fellowship or an internship. So our faculty are very involved in helping students plan those experiences, and then they often work with the students in the summer if it's a summer research fellowship. So just to give you an idea of what our faculty are doing. Just a few statistics about our repository. We currently have 220 faculty participating. We've uploaded over 9,000 papers. We've had 300,000 downloads in the past year, and in the past 3 years, over 600,000 downloads. And this slide just kind of shows our worldwide readership. This is one of our more popular downloads. It's actually a case study that was authored by a business school professor and some students, and you can see it's on the Walt Disney Company, so that certainly is of interest all over the world. But some of our top countries are the United States, the United Kingdom, India, Australia, and China. The repository has been very well received on our campus, and you can see some of the comments that I've collected over the years. I think our faculty in the humanities and social sciences have been very appreciative of a place to share their work. As you know, in the humanities, faculty often write a lot of book chapters, and we've been very successful in getting permissions to post those book chapters, so they've been happy about getting that work out. Our faculty also do a lot of international work. So it's been very meaningful to them that if they're collaborating with someone in Africa or South America, they want to share that work with other scholars, and this has been a great way to make it accessible. And as you've probably experienced here, it's just been exciting with the repository to have these conversations and questions about open access, about copyright and authors' rights. So it's elicited a lot of interest on the faculty's part. So as our repository continued to grow, I started asking myself questions about how can we kind of bring out the repository, and how can we help that build some community on campus and make everyone aware of faculty scholarship. In my information literacy classes, I often teach a lot of concepts related to open access publishing and peer review, the scholarly conversation. And in doing that, I often use a faculty member's citations to teach the students those different concepts. But it's always been surprising to me that students really have no idea that this is something their faculty members spend a great deal of time on, or that they're publishing on particular topics. And then at the same time, I've noticed over the years that faculty don't know about their colleagues' work. And many times I think they come to the library to find that out. I've had conversations with faculty about, well, who else on campus is doing medieval culture and history? And so we, the librarians, are really able to help them make those connections. So I just felt like there's a lot of hidden scholarship and publications that people don't know about, and how can we bring that out and advertise it? So I'd like to share some ideas and strategies and successes that we've had to make faculty research sizzle on campus. And to achieve that excitement, I've relied on three major themes: collaborate, listen, and recognize. A repository itself is not the most exciting website. And as you know, most local and global users will discover it through Google and Google Scholar. So how can we bring out this scholarship and make it an integral part of the community? So as I thought further about collaboration, I identified our Office of University Communications as a natural partner. They've supported us over the years with print publications and website development and advertising different events in the library. So once our repository was up and running, I was sending them information about the faculty scholarship in the repository. And then at the same time, one of our early adopters and a very enthusiastic supporter of the repository was our head of the English department. And she just retired, Dr. Suzanne Jones. She was just gung-ho about getting all of her work up there. And we were able to get permissions, and we got everything up. And she had been a faculty member there since the 1970s, so it was quite a bit. She also got everyone in the English department to participate. So she came back to me after we had uploaded materials and said, I would really like to have links on my faculty webpage to the repository. Can you do that for me? Well, I thought it was a great idea, but I don't have control over faculty web pages. So I went back to communications. They thought it was a wonderful idea, and they offered to do all of the linking, which I was very impressed about. So they have gone through and linked from our faculty web pages to the repository. Then another development that happened with bpress a couple of years ago, and we do use the Digital Commons software from bpress, they developed readership maps, and we have a real-time readership map on the front page of our repository where you can just watch who is hitting and who's downloading materials. But they also offer the ability to do specific readership maps for different communities or collections on the repository. So I, again, sent this to communications. I shared it with some faculty members, and they were very excited about it because they wanted to have a readership map for their own department. And this example gives one from the math and computer science department. It is not truly real time. It's a moving video, but it only shows the downloads in the past week. But at the bottom, it gives the overall statistics. So the faculty just became very enamored with this, and I've been thrilled that it's a part of their web pages, and again, just advertises their work and the repository to visitors to those departmental web pages. And then I was pleased that about a year ago, bpress featured our use of the departmental maps on their blog, the DC Telegraph. And another reason I think this really meshed well and worked well at the time is that the university was revamping our websites, and they really wanted to highlight faculty, and this connected well to that theme of bringing out the faculty on the web pages. Then press releases have been another way that I've communicated with our Office of Communications. They are very on top of promoting the University of Richmond, and there are several press releases each week to the wider Richmond community and to the higher education press. And as I told them about the repository, they thought it would be a great idea if I could send them links when they're highlighting a faculty publication or a grant by a faculty member. So they contact me, and I will send the links that they can use. If we don't have the faculty members' work in the repository, then I contact the faculty member, and we usually can get it up pretty quickly, depending on permissions. So this is an example of about a year ago with two of our faculty members in our Center for Civic Engagement. One highlights one of the journals that we host, Virginia Engage. This is a statewide journal for undergraduates and graduate students to publish on civic engagement topics. And then the other collection, Poverty in Metropolitan Richmond, is by a longtime faculty member, Dr. John Meeser, who has done decades of work about data and census analysis with poverty in the Richmond area. And he had a lot of different slides and materials. We were able to put that on the repository, And now it's being used by people all over the metro Richmond area with government agencies and nonprofit organizations, in addition to student research. So this was a really great example of getting the repository out in the community. Then this is just an example of a recent publication in the Jepson School of Leadership Studies. So they talk about the professor's work, and then at the end you can see the note that readers can go to the repository to read this article, but the other works by him as well. And then most recently, just in the last couple of weeks, the Library of Virginia had their annual literary awards, and one of our English American Studies professor was nominated for 2 categories for his book, Twisted, My Dreadlock Chronicles. And so the university did a press release about this, and as you can see, they also linked to the repository. Now you may be wondering, are we putting up books on our repository? No, we are not, but we do feature them with a pretty detailed metadata record, and we have a link to buy this book, and then we usually scan the introduction or the preface to the book so people can download that and read it. So it's been a way to feature fully authored books. And then here's an example of my theme of listening. Last winter I was at a university faculty meeting, and I'm a big proponent of librarians getting out of the library and going out to meetings and events where faculty are located, maybe even joining them on social media, because I just think we learn so much from faculty when we talk and listen to them. So we were discussing various issues at the faculty meeting about our new strategic plan and a new University Faculty Senate, and then the topic of cross-school collaboration. And one faculty member said, well, how can I find out about what my colleagues are writing and publishing about? So it was a wonderful opportunity for me again to remind people of the repository. And then afterwards I had a conversation with the faculty member, and we started talking about how it would be really nice to just have a place where they could just search faculty publications and not get into the student work or the journal articles and things like that. So I went back to B Press, and they were able to establish a special community and a special search for just all faculty publications. So I just think this is, again, a good example of being present and listening to what faculty are asking about. Then, this was just 2 weeks ago, I was at an Arts and Sciences faculty meeting, and one of the agenda items was our new humanities web portal. We've had a humanities initiative the past couple of years at Richmond as a way to emphasize the value of the humanities to our current students, our prospective students, and part of that is having a large web presence. So as we were reviewing this draft of the portal, the question came up, where is our scholarship? How can we tell people, what are we writing about? And we may want to put student work up here as well. So once again, I raised my hand and reminded people of the repository, told them that I can work with them to link to it. So just a week ago, you can see the link up here to the repository. And then once again, we were able to create a special community of just humanities faculty scholarship. And I hope to work with them further on identifying student scholarship in the future. The other way that we have advertised the repository in a more visual way is through our digital sign system. I don't know if those are popular here at American University, but we have digital signs all over campus, just about every major building, and we have one in the library. So these, advertise events and people and sources, and our PR team did a very brief assessment last year, some focus groups and interviewing students. And what we found is that they do look at these digital signs, and what they like to do is take a photo of them with their phone camera, and then they can remember if they want to go to an event. I just thought that was fascinating. So I've been using the digital sign system each week to highlight a particular work in the repository or statistics about the repository. I have a template that I use, and it shows our readership map in the background, and then it clearly gives the website. So a couple of students have been excited about seeing some of their favorite faculty members featured, and it's something I think that we will continue. And then getting back to my listen theme, we have had a podcast at Boatwright series for about 8 years now. And of course, this predates the repository, but I think the repository is helping sustain it at this point too. But this was back in 2007, 2008, when podcasts were just becoming popular on the scene. Little did I know that they would become so popular now in 2016. But our web technologies librarian and I were just experimenting with iPods at the time, and we had a new microphone, and we thought, well, we ought to try interviewing some people on campus. And so we thought, well, we know some faculty that have new books out. Let's interview them about the books. So we did several. At that time, I didn't really think it would continue, but I'm pleased to say that it has, and we have produced 6 podcasts each year, 3 in fall semester and 3 in the spring semester. Faculty are eager to participate. I also go out and recruit faculty because I like to get a representation of different disciplines and different schools. And we also feature articles in addition to fully authored books. So I thought I might just play a minute or two of this podcast by Timothy Barney in our Rhetoric and Communications department. And he has this wonderful book called Mapping the Cold War. And most academic books aren't that attractive, but I'll just play a minute of this if I can get my arrow to come up. Welcome to Podcast at Boatwright. I am Lucretia McCulley, Head of Scholarly Communications at Boatwright Library. Our faculty interview is with Dr. Tim Barney, Assistant Professor of Rhetoric and Communication Studies. He is the author of a new book, Mapping the Cold War, Cartography and the Framing of America's International Power, published recently by the University of North Carolina Press. In this fascinating history of Cold War cartography, Dr. Barney considers maps as central to the articulation of ideological tensions between American national interest and international aspirations. Tim, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So to start off our conversation, what inspired you to write on this particular topic?
Well, I wish I had a more exciting story than the fact that I think maps are really cool. And I remember being around age 7, my parents got me a children's atlas when I was that age, and it was my favorite thing. And ever since then, I decorate with maps. Everything around me is map related. So I kind of just made it an excuse to actually make into my work. And my wife probably hates that there's so many maps around my house. But when it came to going to graduate school, I work in rhetoric, and rhetoric is my bread and butter. And usually that's typically speeches and other verbal documents and things like that. But I was interested in this idea of visual rhetoric, and I was able to kind of take my passion of maps and apply it to this notion of visual rhetoric and how we get persuaded by visual images every day. Maps are a really powerful part of that. And so I was just hooked from there as I started to work through maps, and I went down the rabbit hole at that point. I just found all.
So you can tell he's very enthusiastic about his topic. So I think the podcast series has been successful because we've kept it simple. It's a low commitment process. Our interviews only run about 8 to 10 minutes, and I ask about 4 or 5 questions. I only request a 30-minute time frame from the faculty member. So that seems to really fit into their very busy schedules. And we usually go through the interview without any stops, very little editing. And we use our audio recording room in our Technology Learning Center in the library, and I use the Audacity software for the recording. So these are available on the library's website. and I share them with the communications office, the admissions office. I highlight a podcast each month, and so we have it on our digital sign system, our social media outlets. I put it on internal listservs, and then it's on the university's daily email, Spider Bites. In addition, we also link to the podcast in the metadata of our repository. So if we've done an interview with a faculty member, then it is linked in that metadata. And we also archived all of the podcasts. This is an example of one of our archives in the repository. So faculty are sharing these once they've completed one on their social media, and I enjoy following that if I'm friends with them on Facebook or Twitter, because it's amazing how the students respond to it, alumni respond to it. And then the faculty members have just told me how much they enjoy learning about each other's research, and that they do it in a number of different ways. Some of them listen while they're walking across campus, some are out for a run. Had one faculty member told me that she always listens to it when she's washing dishes, but they've really enjoyed that opportunity to get to know one another's research. And then early in October, I actually had a student contact me. He's a journalism student, and he wanted to do an assignment on the podcast series. He recognized some of his professors that had been interviewed, so he came by and interviewed me twice, and he's in the process of writing that article, so I can't wait to see it. So I was glad that students were paying attention as well. So now turning to something that's more visual and visible and face-to-face in the library. For the past couple of years, we have had the Visible Scholar program, which highlights a new publication in the repository. Now, I must give credit to my colleagues at Virginia Tech Libraries, because they coined the term, the Visible Scholar, and they have a similar program. Ours is slightly different. So this is a series that's very informal. It takes place in our collaborative study area, similar to the area that you have out here. And it features a book or an article, and it draws upon students and faculty members. Some of our friends of the library attend, even people in the community. It's an intentionally cross-school and cross-disciplinary. This just highlights one of the web pages that we create and we can send out. You can see the link to the article in the repository. Just some past programs. It usually takes place over the lunch hour from 12 to 12:45, and the faculty member talks informally for 20 minutes, and then we have 20 minutes for questions and discussion. And we also have a large sign that we put in the area, and that advertises the program as well. So this was one of our professors in leadership study in September, and I was just so pleased because we had faculty there from biology and English, history, our School of Professional and Continuing Studies. We had a lot of library and technology staff, as well as students. And one thing that happens with the students, because we don't ask them to leave the area, but if they're at a table or a chair, they may not come over and gather in the circle, but they kind of listen. So that was something that I was trying to achieve, that students would see faculty in action in the library. I think these photos just show the informal nature of it. The faculty member does not stand at a podium, they just sit in a chair or a couch. And there's another photo of our sign. So this has been very successful. We're not getting large crowds. We usually have about 15 to 20 people, but it's always a different mix of people. So I think it's reaching a wide range of the community. Then another physical feature that we have in the library is our faculty publications area. And this highlights books published by faculty. We recently renovated this area because it's honoring our past president, Dr. Ed Ayers, who's a well-known scholar on the Civil War in the New South, and we have all his books displayed as well. We order a copy that's just browsing for this collection, and then another copy for the circulating stacks. But it's a popular area. Our faculty often meet in this area to do a review session with students or just talk with them, and then at night the students like to study. It's a very high traffic area, so you often see people browsing the collection. Now, my big plan for this area that hasn't happened yet is I would love to install a touchscreen monitor where people could come by and touch and look at the repository. So I'm working with our web development office, and we've got some challenges with the network and keeping the network secure, but I'm hoping by the end of this academic year we'll have that installed in the area. Then getting back to recognition, we have held a faculty reception honoring books since 2007. We've done this in collaboration with the provost office, and for many years it was just every other year and just honoring books. But a couple of years ago we have a new provost and an associate provost for faculty, and they wanted to widen and broaden the recognition, and I was thrilled about that. So we are now honoring not only books, but book chapters, articles, musical compositions, theater design, artwork, anything that is peer reviewed. And once again, we close our collaborative study area on a Friday afternoon, usually in March, and we host it in the library, and I'm just so thrilled that it is in the library. The library manages the acceptance of faculty publications. We have a special online form, and that helps us obtain all of the materials, and then we create the displays. The online form also has questions and approval that we can put those materials in the repository. So it's a great way to get updates from faculty to add to the repository collection. And this is just an example of our book and our book chapter exhibit. Then the provost office, they have the large budget. They provide wonderful food. They have a bar with wine and beer, and then they usually ask a faculty member in our music department to offer some kind of background music. This past year we had a classical guitarist. It's a very nice occasion. This is one of my favorite photos because I just think it shows how faculty are sharing and recognizing each other's work. They're looking at a new publication by one of these faculty members. And it also shows that they're holding programs, and the library produces programs for the event. We have all of the citations of the work, and then we have links to the repository in the program as well. We have a formal recognition time, and this takes place in front of our large library video wall in the area. This is our associate provost for faculty. So he's recognizing them, and then on the video wall we create PowerPoint slides that rotate throughout the reception, and these highlight books and theater design and artwork, things that are very visual. And here's a close-up of some of the slides. Both of these books are in our repository. Here's Tim Barney again with his Mapping the Cold War, and you can see he's very happy. It's just a real joyous occasion. This is our president, Dr. Ron Crutcher, with several faculty members. And then midway through the reception, the provost also has a champagne toast to the faculty, and so this shows two of our faculty members with their publications and their champagne. So it's a very festive and celebratory time. This past year, the faculty were having such a good time, we had a hard time getting them to leave. So we could put everything back together for the students to use the space over the weekend. Now, currently, I am seeking new collaborations and ideas with a faculty learning community on new disseminations of knowledge, which of course is focusing on all the changes taking place with scholarly publishing. I know faculty learning communities are popular at many campuses. You may have them here at American, but we started them about 2 years ago. Our provost intentionally wanted faculty to come together in small groups of 10 or 12 to study issues that were pertinent to our strategic plan, to the mission of the university, and to intentionally draw people together from different disciplines in different schools. So we are, I think, in our third year of the Faculty Learning Communities. It's very well funded. Our faculty receive a $500 stipend each semester. It is a year-long program. And then we have budgets for food and for speakers. So I'm co-facilitating this community with a faculty member who is chair of our Geography and Environmental Studies department. And we are tackling issues like open access, bibliometrics, altmetrics, open educational resources. We meet once a month, and our group is meeting again next week to talk about open educational resources. And fortunately, several of us were able to attend the Open Education Conference last week in Richmond, so we're excited about sharing that knowledge as well. We've identified some speakers for next semester. One is Dr. Meredith Niles, who is a food systems assistant professor at the University of Vermont and an early career researcher. She is also a big advocate for open access publishing and does a lot with Spark. So she's coming for two reasons: to come and provide a food systems talk, but that she's also going to talk to us and other faculty about open access publishing. So we're excited about her visit. And I'm also pleased that everyone that is in this community is an active participant in the repository. And it's just been fascinating to see the conversations, the different challenges that each of them have in their disciplines, and how they're figuring out how to measure impact, and how they're trying to figure out permissions and things like that. So they're learning a lot from one another. And my hope is, as this year continues, that it will elicit further ideas of how we can promote faculty scholarship, but also how we can engage other faculty members who are not participating to join the repository. So it's an adventure, and we'll see what happens at the end of the year. We are expected to write a report and make recommendations to the provost. So here are a few Sizzle takeaways for you. I think you've heard my theme of collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. It's just so important to do that because libraries can't do this by themselves. So I just encourage you to grow your contacts, ask your library colleagues to help you, go out on campus and meet other offices and other people that are trying to do similar things that you're doing to promote faculty scholarship. And then just be there, be present where faculty are located, seek ideas from faculty, listen to them, and see how the library can respond. Also, start small. You can't do everything. I try to keep a list of just outreach ideas. I don't do all of them. Sometimes they don't work or you don't have enough time, but it's important to keep that creative list. And sometimes they grow. I mean, the example of the podcast is something that I didn't think would sustain itself, but it has. And it's another example of kind of keeping the process small so that we can sustain it. And then again, that importance of telling a story. Tell the story of the publication, of the faculty member, of the institution, and get it out there in a number of different ways. And then just connect and engage. I truly believe the library is the center of campus. I know that's a cliche, but I think we do have a wonderful ability to bring different communities together from all over campus. And so whether people are looking at a digital sign or coming to a program or listening to a podcast, they're engaging in that community in the way that they have chosen. And then encourage feedback. And this is an area that I need to do more of. I actually have some background in assessment, but I haven't done anything formal. I've really relied on anecdotal comments. I've done a few small surveys and focus groups, but it's important to get that feedback on outreach activities. And then just have fun and sizzle. So that concludes my remarks, and I'm happy to take any questions. Yes.
Lucretia, did your faculty have a role in establishing a policy or a framework for contributions to the repository?
No, they did not. We decided on our campus that we would just start with the grassroots of building a repository, because sometimes when you take something to the entire faculty, it can become contentious. And so my first year with the repository, I visited every academic department and told them about it, told them how we would support it. And we do all of the work for them. We get all the permissions and we upload everything and we obtain it. And I think that's just made it very successful in doing that. All they have to do is send us their list of publications. But it has worked well. And then as the faculty become involved in it, they've kind of spread the word among themselves. So. Yes?
How did you choose Digital Commons as the repository platform, and does it lack features you wish it had?
Well, I think we chose it primarily because we knew that we didn't have a lot of technical staff in the library to sustain other other repository platforms. We also wanted to do it along with our law school, and law schools across the country primarily use Digital Commons software, so that was one reason. And then I think economically, because we were buying it together between the main library and the law school, that was another reason, and B Press gave us a really good price on it. So overall, I've been very pleased with it. It is easy to use, and I've been able to involve so many staff with the repository in uploading materials. The training and the support from B Press is just outstanding. I mean, they just are right back with you with any question or problem that you might have. It's not as flexible sometimes as I would like for it to be. There are just certain things, well, like when they display an entire faculty list of publications, it just doesn't look very attractive. And I think what we would have to do is to buy the other part of B Press's software, which is called Selected Works, and it's really faculty web pages. But we already have nice faculty web pages at Richmond, so we don't really want to purchase that. So I hope that in the future they can do a little bit more with the how we can pull that material out and put it into some of our web pages. And they'll have the ability to write some APIs, or we would have the ability to write some APIs to do that. Yes? On the repository, well, I oversee our Access Services division, and that consists of resource sharing staff and then user support staff that work at our information assistance desk. So there are 9 people, and it has become a wonderful role for them to do in addition to everything else that they're doing. And it kind of matches a lot of other duties. I mean, for example, I have one staff member in user support, and she does our document deliveries to faculty. She also does our course reserves. So she's already working with faculty. And then she has been trained to upload metadata and materials. And then in resource sharing, since we're getting a lot of these materials through interlibrary loan, I have 2 staff members there that do uploading and creation of metadata. So total out of my division, I probably have 5 people working on it, but it's distributed so it's not overwhelming. The first 2 years we had a lot to do, but now that we've been through most of the major publications, you know, we're just getting updates. And usually they can do about 5 to 10 entries every week. But when you have several people doing that, that's quite a bit. And they've been really excited about it too. It's been a new professional role for them. Yes?
Are those full-time positions or student positions?
They're full-time positions, yes. And I think that's worked out really well with the quality of the metadata and the consistency of doing that. Yes?
How many faculty at the University of Richmond? What is the size of the population?
We have about 300 undergraduate faculty and we have 5,000 students. So probably in addition to the undergraduate faculty, we would have our law school faculty, so that might be 50 more faculty members.
And what's your success rate in getting permissions for uploads? A rough percentage.
Right. Maybe about 75%. I've been pretty persistent about it. And the first couple of years, I was very successful in getting permission for book chapters and with several major publishers, with articles. I will have to say, though, in the last few months, I've been kind of discouraged. Some of the major publishers that previously were very cooperative, such as Sage, maybe I shouldn't be saying this on video, but anyway, they have changed tremendously, and I just wonder if all the problems that we're having with illegal collections and uploads, if this has scared them. Yeah. And then with Sage, it's kind of like they'll let me do some, but not all. So I don't know where that's going in the future. Of course, I've been really trying to push faculty to read your copyright transfer of agreement and write that in as a permission. And that has worked very well for some faculty, I'm happy to say.
About how many items do you have each year?
I would say in the last year, like since January, we've probably added 100 new items. But those first 2 years, we were adding like 1,000 because that's when we were starting off. And
Perspective.
yeah, right, a lot of retrospective work. And I email each faculty member at the end of the semester and try to get them to send me updates. So that brings in a lot of things in addition to the form that we use for the reception. Yes.
Do you do syllabus as well?
We have not done that. It's something I'm interested in, and maybe as we talk more about OER, that may be something that we'll do. Yes.
You have a lot of very interesting marketing ideas. How do you get them, and do you have a subcommittee that works on that? Or?
We do. I chair our public relations social media team, and we meet once a month and talk about ideas, and then we all have our different parts in doing that. So that generates ideas, and then we usually send out emails to the entire library staff and try to get ideas from them as well.
So what would you ask of the library staff? What would be a typical request?
Well, one thing we want to do is highlight the different departments in the library, and sometimes I'm talking about faculty not knowing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to know what our colleagues are doing. So I try to get ideas from the different departments and staff members, and many times we'll discover things that we haven't been aware of. So that's been a great way to do digital signs or have an event. So we'll get ideas from our digital initiatives department or special collections. But we also try on our PR committee to get representation from different
Right.
parts of the library too.
What types of student works are you collecting?
We upload all of our honors theses. We have undergraduates that do honors theses. And then retrospectively, we did have some master's programs at the University of Richmond, so we went back and uploaded those. That was difficult a little bit with permissions, but we decided to go with having a statement that if you see it here and you don't want it, just contact us and we'll take it down. Then we also have a lot of research symposiums for students, one for the sciences, arts and sciences, and the leadership school. And so we will upload their posters in the repository. And then we have another special program called Sophomore Scholars in Residence. And these are kind of living learning communities, but they take one course the entire year, and then they have presentations at the end of the year, and we'll upload their presentations.
It's a video or
It can be a lot of,
however
it could be a video, it could be a poster, it could be, a paper.
But the library doesn't videotape
No, no. But, and then the other thing is for our journal hosting, we are hosting our undergraduate literary magazine. We've put up all of those past issues. And then we have a new print magazine called The Forum. So we're putting up their issues as well. Now the students could use the platform to publish digitally because B-Press has this really nice background, back end where they could do that and accept articles. But so far they haven't wanted to do that. It's really interesting that students want that print. They want it. So, but this way they can have it both ways. Yes.
Two unrelated questions. You said at the beginning you were looking into putting data sets into the repository. Can you say more about that? The other question is, do you create DOIs or any other kind of persistent identifiers for any content in the repository?
Right. I'll answer the DOI first and then get back to data. Yes, if we have the DOI, we put that into a field in the
Do you create any yourself? Or do you
No, we're just using it from other metadata that we find on the journal website, but we're not creating them. That is something, though, I've talked to B-Press about, and I'd like to be able to do that. And if we have the DOI in our metadata, then we can also put the altmetric badge up there, and they can track it that way. Now, data. Yes, we had a small subcommittee, and we still have a small subcommittee in the library that we really wanted to encourage faculty to put up data sets because we know there's a lot out there. It's been very difficult to do that. And part of it is just getting the faculty organized to give us the data. I mean, with their publications, it's easy. They can give us citations and we can take care of it. But it's just getting them to take the time and to plan it. So for example, our psychology department was moving to another location this summer, and I thought, oh, this is a great idea because they're moving, they're going through all their papers, and I contacted some of them, and they were enthusiastic about it, but that they just never got it organized. So where we've had more success is working closely with our grants office, and with the grant process, they are now including the library to review data management plans, especially if they have grants from the government. So that has been working pretty well, and I'd say in the last 3 months we've been in touch with faculty who have wanted us to review their data management plan, and that we've also been able to have them put the UR Scholarship Repository as a place to put it if they wish to do that once they've received the grant. So I think that strategy is working better right now than just trying to go out and recruit data. Yes.
You mentioned you had a digital initiatives department or unit.
Yes.
What kind of collaborations do you do with them, and what does that unit do with the Scholarly Communications unit?
Oh, well, good question, and I should have mentioned that earlier. Yeah, there is a close collaboration, and one of our digital initiatives coordinators, she actually puts up all of the honors thesis in the repository. And then she's doing these student journals, she's putting those up as well. So, we're a fairly small library. We have 40, 45 members on staff, so we see each other a lot and collaborate in that way. We've also recently purchased Preservica to archive some of our digital assets, so we're going to be talking about how that would interact with repository as well. Okay. Yes?
So is your cataloging department involved in creating the metadata for this? It sounds like no.
No, they're not.
How do they feel about that?
They're okay with it because they realized they didn't have time to do it. And it's, we don't have this information in the catalog. I mean, I know sometimes repositories will have those links back and forth, but we just decided that would be difficult because you never know when the software is going to change or you're going to change systems. So they met with us initially to kind of help with identifying how we would identify keywords and descriptive, and we actually rely on the catalog a lot to put in keywords into our metadata. So we'll go back and look at the subject headings. We don't put in the entire subject heading, but we'll take the keywords from those subject headings and put it in. So, yes?
The Virginia Scholarly Communications Interest Group. Talk about it, and is it within VLA?
It is not.
It is not.
That started out as kind of a unconference, and I do it with Claudia Holland over at George Mason University. So this started almost 4 years ago, and we just thought it would be great to get librarians across the state of Virginia together informally to talk about scholarly communication issues and share information. And I think we had our first meeting at the University of Richmond. We only meet like 11 to 3. The topics come from the group, and we kind of vote on them. So it's not like Claudia and I are managing everything. And wherever we meet, they provide, a light lunch. But it's been very successful. I mean, we usually have 20 to 30 people attending. We'll have discussion and updates from the different schools. Sometimes we'll have someone within the group to talk about a particular issue, like Anita Waltz from Virginia Tech is doing a lot with OER, and she talked about that. And it's been great that it's worked well with our large research libraries and our smaller liberal arts libraries, because sometimes that's hard to balance, but we've really worked well together and learned so much from one another. And we only meet twice a year, so it's kind of low commitment, and we try to meet in kind of central Virginia, like we've never met at Virginia Tech, and we've never met at George Mason because of the traffic. But we'll be meeting again in January. It's usually January and June. And then we've developed a closer relationship with Viva and with the Library Advisory Council of SHEV, the State Council of Higher Education in Virginia. So they have wanted a scholarly communications representative attending their meetings this year to forge better understanding, and so we can all be on the same path. So it's been very helpful. I've learned a lot from it.
And then we've learned a lot from you this morning.
Oh, well, thank you.
very much for coming.
Oh, thank you. I've enjoyed it. Nice to meet all of you, and thanks for coming.